welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something truly extraordinary, a story that really sounds like science fiction. But our sources present it as, well, a hidden chapter of our history. We're talking about Project Serpo,
Right.
this supposed exchange program between the U.S. government and an extraterrestrial civilization. Our mission today is really to unpack the incredible claims in these sources, explore these detailed accounts of this alleged journey between planets, and, what it all implies about our place in the universe.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how these sources kind of weave together so many different threads. You've got personal contact experiences, deep government secrets, even questions about consciousness itself. We're not just looking at what might have happened, but really trying to get why this information, well, why it matters to you.
Okay, so let's start with maybe the background. There's a key individual here, Len Kasten. How did he get involved in all this?
Well, according to the material, his interest really sparked from a personal UFO contact experience. This was back when he was in the Air Force, stationed at Eglin Air Force Base.
Yeah.
He described seeing this craft glowing green and gold at 3 a.m. And then the next morning, people in the tower were apparently talking about UFOs on radar. And he felt sick, like flu symptoms for days. He later came to believe that, that those symptoms meant he'd actually been on the craft.
Wow, so a direct physical encounter, potentially.
That's what he came to feel, yes. And that really pushed him. He started looking into Project Blue Book, then later got involved with NECAP.
NECAP, the National Investigative Committee on Aerial Phenomenon, a big civilian group back then.
Exactly. Very prominent. But here's where his path takes maybe an unexpected turn for some.
Right, the metaphysics connection. That's really interesting.
It is. After the Air Force, he felt drawn to Virginia Beach. Spent a lot of time at the Edgar Cayce Foundation Library, just soaking it all in, kind of self-educating on metaphysical ideas. Then later joined the Theosophical Society in Boston.
So how does he reconcile these two worlds? The nuts and bolts UFO sightings and this more spiritual consciousness side? Because they seem quite different.
That's really key to his perspective. He argues they're not separate, they're inseparable. He believes that let's call them the good ET species, are basically non-interventionist.
Yeah.
And they'll only make mass contact when humanity's consciousness is ready for it. Ready, yeah. And he even suggests there are forces actively trying to dumb us down, as he puts it, to prevent that readiness. Now, he acknowledges folks like Stanton Friedman, who focus purely on the hard evidence, the nuts and bolts, and says that's important work too. But for him, you need both. The physical and the metaphysical, it's all one field of study.
Okay, that sets an interesting stage. Before we get right into Serpo itself, the sources talk about clarifying this idea of different alien species interacting with Earth.
Yes, that's crucial context. The anonymous source for the Serpo material stated that, back in 2005 at least, Earth was interacting with 8 different species. 8 known species, and the source noted it's probably more by now.
So when they talk about good versus bad intentions, what does that actually mean in this context?
Well, the bad guys, as the sources frame them, are the ones who might want to, take over the planet or dominate it. The reptilians are often cited as the primary example here.
Right.
And what's really fascinating, or maybe alarming, is the claim that they aren't new arrivals. They were supposedly here before humans and believe they actually own the planet.
Own the planet, right?
Yeah. Highly interventionist, their DNA supposedly static for hundreds of thousands of years. And the sources even link them to backing the Nazi organization, providing tech assistance.
Okay, that's a huge claim, linking extraterrestrials to 20th century geopolitics.
It is. It really reframes history, doesn't it, if true? Then, in contrast, you have the good guys.
The allies.
Right. Portrayed as friendly species who want to see humanity grow, spiritually mainly, and eventually join some kind of galactic federation. They're described as non-interventionist, mostly, though they might subtly influence through education or, guidance.
Like the Pleiadians, they get mentioned sometimes.
Exactly. The Pleiadians are often mentioned, said to be thousands of years ahead of us, distant relatives even. The wider story is that humans in this galaxy all trace back to a civilization on Lyra, and different groups scattered out from there. These good species apparently contributed their DNA to help create us.
So they have a vested interest in our development.
Kind of like cosmic parents rooting for us to succeed. That's the picture painted.
Okay, so we have this context, Kasten's journey, this galactic landscape. Now let's really focus on the centerpiece, Project Serpo itself.
Right. And this is presented very clearly by the sources, not as a theory, but as a real documented event. revealed by whistleblowers.
That exchange program.
Yes,
Yeah.
the beings from the Roswell crash. They're called the EBINs.
EBINs, short for extraterrestrial biological entities.
That's right, a term coined by our intelligence folks. 5 EBINs died in the crash, apparently, but 1 survived. And that surviving EBIN was key to setting up this exchange agreement.
And the destination planet, Serpo.
Yeah.
You mentioned Zeta Reticuli.
Yep, Zeta Reticuli. About 39 light years away, which is what, 240 trillion miles? Just a staggering distance.
Yet the journey only took 10 months, according to the leak.
10 months. The technology made that possible. It's almost incomprehensible.
And how did this information even come out, if it was such a huge secret?
It leaked online in 2005. The source was described as a former high-level executive at the Defense Intelligence Agency, the DIA.
The DIA, not the CIA.
Correct. The sources say President Kennedy specifically tasked the DIA with managing this program. Apparently, after the Bay of Pigs fiasco, he wanted an alternative channel separate from the CIA for something this sensitive.
Huh. Okay, that's an interesting detail. So how did the actual exchange happen? What was the motivation on our side?
Well, it was pretty obvious their technology was light years ahead of ours, especially propulsion, the anti-gravity stuff.
We wanted that tech.
Absolutely. It was clearly in our strategic interest to learn everything we could from them. The initial agreement apparently got Eisenhower's okay. Then Kennedy gave the final go-ahead in '63.
But he was assassinated before the launch.
Right, before the 1965 launch. So President Johnson was the one who actually signed off on sending the team. He inherited this massive secret.
And the team itself. How were they chosen? These weren't astronauts, right?
No, not astronauts in the NASA sense. They needed military discipline. So the sources say they put quiet ads in military journals. Very vague.
And got hundreds of volunteers.
Around 600, apparently. They whittled that down to 16, then a final 12 for the actual mission. Mostly military guys, chosen in part because they didn't have close relatives. People who wouldn't be immediately missed.
That's quite chilling, actually.
It is. They were told it was some kind of long-duration mission, maybe moon-related, not interstellar travel. They trained at a CIA facility in Virginia, Camp Peary, the farm.
Any women on the final team? There seems to be some conflicting info there.
Yeah, the original anonymous source said 2 women were in the final 12, but other accounts suggest maybe women were in the pool of 16, but the final 12 were all men. Mostly young guys in their 20s. The commander was a bit older, late 30s, early 40s. It's one of those details where the accounts differ slightly.
Okay. And what was in it for the EBINs? Why did they want this exchange?
They apparently claimed they had been watching us for thousands of years and were, generally well-disposed towards us. Their main interest, surprisingly, was said to be biochemical science, an area where maybe they felt they could learn from us.
Huh. Despite their advanced hardware.
Right. Their tech was way beyond ours, but maybe biology was different. And the sources state it was their idea initially, the exchange program.
So what was their civilization like on Serpo?
Well, very intelligent. Our people estimated their IQ around 160 by our standards. But socially, it sounds like a police state, totally controlled by an elite group using these belt devices.
Belt devices.
Yeah, devices that dictated their movements, their daily schedules, total control. But importantly, the sources stressed they weren't robots. They still had emotions, individual will. They believed in a creator, not quite God as we think of it, and had rituals around birth and death.
So advanced tech doesn't automatically mean freedom or enlightenment then?
Not at all. It's a really sobering thought, isn't it? Makes you value our own messy freedoms, perhaps.
Definitely. And the planet itself, Serpo. What was it like physically?
It was in a binary star system. 2 suns.
2 suns, so no night.
Effectively no real darkness. One sun was always up. The planet was similar to Earth, maybe a bit smaller, similar terrain. But the equatorial region was incredibly hot. So hot, the human team had to live underground for the first 6 years.
6 years underground.
Yeah. Then, for the last 7 years, they moved north to a cooler region where the Zebans built a special community for them. They even managed their own agriculture, growing food under artificial lights.
And their technology. Beyond the star travel, you mentioned a power source.
Yes, the crystal rectangle. That was the name our team gave it. It used antimatter technology. Imagine, in the 1960s, encountering that.
Mind-blowing.
It could power everything the team brought, and more. Just a tiny device with immense power. And the sources strongly suggest that a lot of our leaps in technology since then, especially in biochemistry, stem directly from what we learned during Serpo.
Biochemistry and genetics.
Very much so. The Abens were apparently masters of cloning and DNA manipulation. They were doing experiments, creating combinations that our team found, well, horrific.
Horrific.
Yeah, but to the Ebens, it wasn't about ethics as we see it. It was just science, subjective experimentation, a very different perspective.
And the human team, what happened to them all? You said 12 went.
Only 7 came back.
7. What happened to the others?
3 died, 1 during the journey to Serpo, and 2 more while on the planet. Causes aren't fully detailed, but, immense stress is involved. And incredibly, 2 members of the team chose to stay on Serpo.
Stay. Voluntarily.
Voluntarily. Contact was apparently maintained with them until about 1988. There's even speculation, just speculation, mind you, that there might still be some kind of human presence or colony there today.
It's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
If this is true, if any significant part of it is true, why is it still secret? Why isn't this the biggest news in history?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The debriefing document itself is supposedly massive, 3,000 pages, locked in a vault at Bolling Air Force Base.
3,000 pages.
Yeah. And the sources claim the DIA, who ran the program, might have been willing to release it eventually, but the CIA had more clout, more power, and insisted on keeping it classified. Total cover-up.
So it only came out because someone leaked it online in 2005.
Exactly. That anonymous source, likely the former DIA official, just put it out there.
And it's fascinating how hints of this might have trickled into popular culture. You see these connections drawn.
Absolutely. Take Spielberg's movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Remember the ending?
Yeah, the exchange. People going onto the ship.
12 people in orange jumpsuits boarding the alien craft.
Huh. 12. Just like Serpo.
Exactly. The sources suggest that Anonymous deliberately gave Spielberg that detail back in 1977 as a way to kind of, seed the idea into the public mind, prepare people subconsciously.
And other sci-fi, like Star Wars or Star Trek.
They're often seen in this context, too. Maybe not direct leaks like Spielberg, but perhaps infused with deeper knowledge.
Oh.
Possibly through channelers or just inspired intuition. Concepts like the Force mirroring universal consciousness. Or even the idea of, planet-destroying weapons like the Death Star. Maybe reflecting technologies known to exist among other civilizations, like the reptilians, perhaps.
Wow, so pop culture is a subtle disclosure mechanism.
Potentially, yes, or at least reflecting truths filtering through.
And this wasn't the first time we allegedly got tech boosts from ETs, right?
Yeah.
The sources loop back to Roswell.
Definitely. Roswell is presented as foundational. The debris recovered there supposedly led directly to reverse engineering things we now take for granted.
Not quite.
Night vision, advanced optics. Computer chips, the basis of our entire digital revolution. There were some early misunderstandings, though, like Colonel Philip Corso thinking human body parts on the craft meant cannibalism.
Right, I remember reading about that.
It turned out, according to these later sources, they were just scientific specimens. The Ebens were collecting biological samples from across the galaxy. It was their way.
Just detached science again.
Seems so. And the Ebens, while mostly peaceful towards us, weren't pacifists themselves. They apparently fought a long war, like 100 years, with another species, which is how they developed some very potent weapons tech, like particle beams that we eventually acquired knowledge of, too.
So they're allies, but capable of warfare. And distinct from the Greys.
Very distinct, yes. The sources often link the Greys more with the reptilians, maybe as a genetically engineered worker race doing unpleasant tasks on Earth.
Okay, this whole narrative raises huge questions about us, about humanity. There's a suggestion we weren't just a natural evolutionary step.
Yes, a really profound claim. That Homo sapiens, us, were genetically altered, given an evolutionary jumpstart around 40,000 years ago.
By who? The Evens. Other good guys.
Likely other good civilizations, the ones who see themselves as our ancestors or guardians, part of that Lyran heritage idea. It just deepens the whole mystery of who we are and our place in this cosmic neighborhood.
And we got technology, too, besides Roswell. You mentioned a disk.
Right, the Kingman disk incident in 1953, supposedly a gift from the Ebens. This disk was allegedly taken to the Nevada test site, Area 51 perhaps, and reverse engineered. By 1962, the claim is we had a working flying saucer based on that tech.
A working saucer in 1962.
That's the claim, leading to a secret space program, trips to Mars, the moon, decades before the public programs acknowledged anything similar.
So if this is even remotely true, where does it leave our understanding of UFOs and ET life now? It's not just lights in the sky anymore.
Not at all. We've moved way beyond that. The conversation now, based on these sources, has to be about relationships. Our relationships with these different civilizations, our own spiritual standing, and just how far ahead they really are. We apparently already have the technology for interstellar travel. Ben Rich from Lockheed Skunk Works basically said as much back in '89. We now have the technology to take ET home.
Right, that famous quote.
So the challenge isn't building the ships anymore. It's learning about who's out there, understanding the impact on our consciousness. It's about how we evolve into, well, like you said, maybe a Star Trek civilization, but sure enough to handle this reality.
And this reality might even include multiple dimensions.
Exactly. The sources touch on that too. While the Ebens are presented as, physical beings from another planet, other species, like the reptilians again, are described as potentially interdimensional, or at least comfortable operating in the fourth dimension.
The fourth dimension, sometimes called the astral plane or realm of the dead.
That's the idea. Which could explain some really high strangeness phenomena, like abductees reporting passing through walls. It suggests a physics we barely comprehend.
This has been, well, an absolutely mind-bending deep dive into Project Serpo and everything connected to it. The sheer volume of information in these sources, classified or leaked, it offers just a staggering alternative view of recent history.
It really does. And I think the core message coming through this material is that knowing about these potential friends in the galaxy, knowing about the science, the biology we supposedly exchanged, it could genuinely help raise our collective consciousness, prepare us. The sources seem to imply there's no real harm in this knowledge being public, yet powerful forces, it seems, are determined to keep it suppressed.
So ultimately, this deep dive isn't just about presenting these claims. It's asking you, the listener, to think about why it matters. How could this knowledge change things?
Exactly. And maybe the final thought to leave people with is this. If we accept the possibility of a multidimensional universe, advanced tech, species way ahead of us, what is our role in this bigger cosmic picture? How fast can we, as humans, raise our own consciousness? Enough to master the tech we supposedly have, figure out who's who out there, and crucially, learn to be, loving creatures who care for each other and our planet. Because according to these sources, that's how we truly become a significant positive factor in the galaxy. That's the real next step.